Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I think we can get started here. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ONNX workshop. So let's get started here. And a warm welcome to all of you from Intel and our whole vast array of products is available for you to do AI or infuse AI into all of your processes, end-to-end pipeline, and so on. Do check it out. And we would like to welcome everybody here to the ONNX workshop. So all the workshop presentations and the SEG working group sessions, community presentations will be recorded and made available publicly afterwards, the conference, probably like Monday of next week. And like logistics of the meeting, I will be asking everyone to mute except when presenting, and you can post your questions in ONNX General or post here in the Zoom chat, and we'll pick it up and ask the presenter itself. So the overall goals of the workshop is to get the latest updates on ONNX overall, the process, the roadmap releases, and where we stand with the SEG and the working groups, and learn from the various community participants of how ONNX is being used. So do share your feedback on what is working and what isn't, and do get more involved with the ONNX steering committee, SIGs, and the working groups. So that is like our ask here today. So from agenda, we'll be starting out with the main logistics of the ONNX working group here and the community meetup. We are going through the logistics as of now, and later on we'll have Wenming present and followed by Alex. And then we'll go into the community presentations. We have about 11 of the community presentations here, very exciting, and looking forward to it. And followed by the third part of the agenda, which is the various SIG and the working group members presenting like what's happening in their specific working groups and the SIGs. So with that, I will pass it on to Wenming here to cover the state of the state.
Thank you, Rajeev, and welcome to everyone. So my name is Wenming Yi. I'm a research product manager at AWS AI. So some of the products that I cover include AutoGluon, which is an automatic machine learning framework, and also DGL or Deep Graph Library. So first of all, I have some exciting updates on the statistics that we've had over the last half a year. Next slide, please, Rajeev. Thank you. So first of all, our PRs or pull requests are up about 15%. Our number of contributors has increased as well to 208. That makes us a relatively large community of very active contributors. And on the GitHub stars, we've increased the number by about 16%. And the dependencies repos for ONNX has increased by 63%. Number of forks also went up. And I also want to call out the two most exciting statistics here. One is the model zoo, number of models in our models, which has continues to grow in a very healthy clip at 41%, going to about 55 models. And as the ecosystem grows, we'd love to have more models in our model zoo. And the most exciting stats is that our monthly downloads has increased almost 400% to 1.6 million per month. And that really shows that the ecosystem is growing in a very healthy way. And the number of users, including the developers, which are truly starting to impact the the end users that is getting the benefits from ONNX. Next slide, please. So of course, the growth and the ecosystem is really dependent on the contributions of tools and support from companies in this ecosystem. So I want to mention a couple of new participants in this. One is DJL, which is one of the deep Java library project from Amazon. We're seeing a tremendous amount of growth from end users to be able to do a one command line deployment of ONNX, be able to serve deep learning models using ONNX. And also it really has built a very good experience for the Java community, essentially kind of cross communicating from the ONNX projects into the Java community, not just limiting it to the C++ or the Python community. I want to also call out some of the commercial companies that are helping to support the ecosystem and providing the opportunity for ONNX to become the industry standards. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that includes IBM, AMD, and Sony, Maxar, Microsoft, and Sony, and many, as you can see. We would love to have even more commercial companies participate in this community. Next slide, please. Yeah, let's also talk about governance and also welcome the new members of the steering committee. So Alex and also myself, Mayank from NVIDIA and also Rajeev from Intel are the newer members of the steering committee. And our special interest group has also grown, including architecture and infrastructure, operators, converters, model zoos, and tutorials. And I would love to call out for additional participation given the current state of where we are. But for the next 6 months, we'd love to have people participate. Next slide, please. In a more specific way. So first of all, our roadmap is out. So Alex is going to be talking about the roadmap in the next 5 minutes. The roadmap discussions are very important. That helps us to move in the right direction, to help the community move in the right direction together, and also invite people to our Slack channel. So currently we have about 1,100 participants in the Slack channel. We'd love to be able to double that in the next half a year or so. And also do participate in the Q&A on GitHub. There are a lot of GitHub issues, a lot of active discussions, but we would love to have more questions answered. So your participation is really appreciated. How would you contribute? So for someone who's like me, who's new to the ONNX community, I would like to start with the documentation. So that requires very small amount of your effort, and it's a very low entry into the contribution process. And then we'd love to have more blogs that can talk about ONNX. So please do share the experience from your development experience as well, your customers' experience in terms of using ONNX. And also we would love to have more community members go out and talk about ONNX. So if you have a talk that you're presenting at a specific conference, definitely go to the general channel and let everybody know about it. So that is my part of the presentation. And next, I'll hand that over to Alex. Thank you.
Thanks for this wonderful description of the states. So I'm going to follow up with the roadmap, which is, as mentioned, super important. I'm Alex Eichenberger, and I work at IBM Research, and I'm responsible for the ONNX MLI compiler project, where we try to lower ONNX models down to binaries for CPU and accelerators. So let me talk about the roadmap discussions. So the steering committee started our annual roadmap discussion this summer, like last summer. And over 6 weeks, we requested proposal over Slack and our ONNX AI website and got a wide-ranging proposals from various different ONNX members. We then organized those proposals in 4 groups of 3 proposals each. And we had the author present their ideas over the summer and had really good discussions about those topics. The current status is that the proposals are now assigned to their respective SIGs for further evaluation and implementation. So let me briefly summarize each of those proposals. Next slide, please. So here are the 3 topics that we presented in our first discussion. In the first presentation, Nakaike from IBM proposed 3 new preprocessing operators to better support Kaggle preprocessing. With these 3 new operators, and along with using existing ones, they were able to cover a significant part of the Kaggle benchmark directly to ONNX. And so that is currently a proposal that is for preprocessing and the operator SIG. In the second presentation, Pukok from Oracle talked about the C API to enable model checking and modifying. At Oracle, like in many other companies, they are working predominantly in Java, and a C interface would be very useful to them. And so that is assigned to the architecture infra. In the third presentation, Pukok also argued for better support for emitting models in other languages than Python, for example, C# and Java. And that is for the same committee. Next table, please. So here are the 3 topics covered in our second discussion. In the first presentation, Kroom from Gridways spoke about adding metadata information in tensors. The idea that he proposed is to increase the robustness and the usability of converters to apply quantization for older models. And that is both for the architecture infra as well as the converter SIG. In the second presentation, Sika from IBM talked about better integrating the data processing and inference as part of a single ONNX graph. The goal here is to better integrate Keras, TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, Spark pipeline preprocessing within the ONNX model. And that covers a wide range of models, of SIG groups. In the third presentation, Sika also discussed about the importance for many vendors to have converters to ONNX to emit the high functionality operators such as LSTM, RNN, and GRU, as they are easier to optimize. We've seen great progress in this, but there's still a little bit of work to be done. And that is both for the converters and the operators. Next slide, please. Here are the topics that we covered in the third session. The first presentation, Sabal Wao from Intel discussed about gaps in the offset conversion across a broad set of models. The goal here is to increase robustness of converters and better represent quantized model. And that is covering basically architecture infra and conversion SIGs as well as release for better checking. In the second presentation, Esteves from Intel talked about developing and better supporting ONNX model for E2E distributed training scenarios. And that is primarily a model tutorial SIG issue. In the third presentation, Esteves also proposed to define concepts for federated learning in the ONNX standards, which is a scenario that is important and becoming increasingly so. And that is like for the operation SIG. Fourth table, please. And here are the 3 topics presented in the fourth discussion. In the first presentation, MacArthur from Lightmatter talked about his company need for shape with symbolic computation and possibly unknown ranks. There's been a good effort actually trying to do that in the current release, and that's for the Arch and Infra SIG. In the second presentation, Karumanchi from Intel discussed the use of metadata processing properties to improve the integrity of data and models. The goal is to have integrity information from data modeling all the way to model inference. And so that covered a wide range from architecture infra to models, preprocessing, training, as well as runtime. In the third presentation, Karo Menshi also talked about metadata to better support quantized model with mixed precision, which is also an increasingly important area. And that's both for the models as well as the operators. Next slide, please. Since our last workshop, ONNX released version 1.10 of the specs. There will be detailed discussions about this latest change, which are also discussed on our ONNX.ai website. The steering committee wants to welcome everyone for your countless hours of work for the new release, the roadmap presentation, and to make ONNX a better standard. Thank you very much for your involvement. That concludes my talk.
Thank you, Wenming and Alex. So you can post any questions in the chat or on the Slack channel of ONNX General. So we'll continue here. So next,